let's get started. Let's kick off. I think we got a great presentation for you here today. So the question is, are you struggling with test data bottlenecks, compliance risks, or incomplete coverage? Well, if you are, then you're in the right place as we present our webinar today using AI-driven test data to avoid software failures. We've got a great presentation for you today featuring myself and Harry Byrne. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Mantas Dvareckas. I'm a digital marketing manager here at Curiosity Software, and I've been working with the team for nearly 5 years, leading digital marketing strategies and campaigns with the test data and software delivery space. And with me today, we have Harry Byrne, who's a solutions architect at Curiosity. Harry is a test data automation, visual modeling, and AI specialist with over 5 years of experience working with some of the largest organizations in finance and banking, helping them with data generation, compliance, and quality. Harry, if you'd like to say a little hello.
Yeah, hello everyone. Mantas has kindly already given you a bit of background on myself. I'll be walking you through the solution a little bit today, just showing you some of the clever things we're doing with AI and how it might be able to benefit you, and just ways of looking at things really. How can we use AI in the most effective way, right, to solve some of the challenges we're facing with test data. So it'd be really interesting to hear from all of you that are here as to what problems you're facing, what things you're seeing, and really get some conversations going. But yeah, I'll be showing you around the tool later. Let's
Looking forward to that. But yeah, let's get right into the topic for the day. I'm going to start to talk a little about Curiosity, about the test data landscape as we see it today, before I hand over to Harry, who's, as he just mentioned, he's going to showcase some of our AI-driven test data capabilities in the Curiosity platform. So, in general, who are we? Who are Curiosity Software? At Curiosity, we set the global standard for test data management. We hope to empower enterprises by unlocking the full potential of their data. And building on decades of experience in unblocking enterprise data delivery, our pioneering approach, Discover, Act, Monitor, transforms how enterprises manage their data. So we focus on key productivity blockers in test data delivery, discovery, compliance, and quality specifically. Our enterprise test data platform empowers your teams by hopefully simplifying complex application landscapes, providing you with confidence and clarity at every step of your test data journey. And yeah, we'll talk a bit more about us later, but really let's talk a bit about how we're seeing the landscape and the challenges that organizations worldwide are facing with test data management. So, we know currently test data is a fast-paced industry. The world of software development is extremely fast, and being efficient, compliant, and having unified test data is no longer optional. Robust, agile, and automated processes are now a necessity for modern test data environments and for enterprises to keep pace with their competitors, to meet regulatory standards and protect their reputation. And additionally, the introduction of AI, to adopt AI and implement it successfully, organizations must be equipped with high quality, well understood, and unified data. Quality data and data understanding is a crucial component for the adoption of AI. And without this, and without understanding, enterprises will simply not be able to fully leverage AI for automation, insights, or innovation in general. So ignoring test data modernization isn't just a technical problem. It directly impacts business competitiveness, customer satisfaction, and long-term innovation. The cost of inaction grows exponentially, making it critical to act now before there are issues that compound, and enterprises unable to trust their data will struggle to unlock AI-driven efficiencies and insights. The challenges facing test data teams, I believe, have never been greater. Data is exploding, applications are more complex than ever, and organizations are under immense pressure to deliver more with fewer resources, and the consequences of failure are severe. This is, of course, where AI-driven test data comes in. The concept of using AI tools is become extremely attractive to a lot of organizations, right? And Harry, as someone who works with large enterprises, how are you seeing the challenges that they're facing with test data today? Are you seeing an increase in AI tools or the suggestion of using AI?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So I think it's still actually reasonably early days, especially for a lot of big companies in terms of how they're actually implementing AI. So I think people are still trying to figure out actually the way to get the most out of it. It will probably fundamentally change a few things, not just sort of like the way in which we create data, but also the way we sort of manage it. So it's really just trying to use it in the most effective way to take us away from manual processes and automate things as much as possible. So, AI can obviously consume so much information at once in a way that we just can't do it as humans, right? So it's about giving the AI the right information in some organized, constructive way, so you can get effective outcomes from that, right? You can't just simply just have a chat with it and say make something. It needs context, it needs metadata, it needs to understand your business rules, and so having that in a cohesive way that the AI can interpret it, it is going to go a long way. So yeah, I think it's still pretty early days, right? But the shift is going to come quite quickly, and so businesses being able to sort of react and and move fast is gonna make a big difference. So yeah, we'll look at that today anyway, and we'll show you guys how we're going about it. And yeah, it's still early on, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a big point you mentioned there is that the quality and the amount of data that organizations require is one of the biggest challenges, right? Especially when it comes to AI, but in testing and software quality in general, right? So that really leads into one thing that we wanted to talk about today, and a big part of this webinar topic is the scale of modern software failures. And we thought we'd highlight two famous cases of poor testing and a lack of quality data. So what might be considered one of the largest IT outages in history as you all know, would be CrowdStrike, the infamous blue screen of death that was caused by an update that they had. The outage occurred on July 19th in 2024 when a misconfigured update clashed with existing Windows configurations, leading to a widespread crashes across airports, across large organizations, all using Windows computers. This, of course, led to huge losses, right? So up to 72 hours of downtime for major organizations, an estimated 3 billion in losses, and the worldwide financial damage in general has been estimated to be at least 10 billion US dollars. And this example really illustrates the need for robust coverage, complete testing, and quality data. Of course, talking about another one, we have Boeing here, right? This was huge as well, and I'm sure everyone's heard of it. It's to do with the grounding of all Boeing 737 MAX planes. In 2018, Boeing installed a flight control software update in their latest models that could force the plane to dive without the pilot's knowledge. And that led to, of course, the grounding and two major incidents. These incidents were caused by a few lines of code in the flight control computer, which made the autonomous command nosedive, when even a single sensor failure resulted in bad data. Again, so quality data comes right back to it. But of course, the fault, it was never tested properly, and they failed to find the issue before production, leading to heavy losses for Boeing, where Boeing suffered through increased costs, loss of revenue, reputational damage, and decreased stock value. Boeing's net orders for the 737 MAX were down by more than 1,000 aircraft because they were no longer certain enough to rely on. The total estimated direct cost of MAX groundings were about 20 billion, with indirect economic costs of over 60 billion US dollars. These are just two major software failures that underscore the importance of rigorous testing, high quality test data, and robust coverage. But test data faces a lot of other challenges as well. And of course, we like to talk about them here too. So of course, as software development has evolved, test data tools have increasingly struggled to meet the demands of modern software delivery, particularly in areas such as AI and ML enablement, cloud-native environments, and real-time test data provisioning. Modern AI initiatives require clean, unified, and compliant data streams, but many enterprises struggle with preparing and integrating data across diverse systems and formats. With pressure to deliver higher ROI and leaner teams and tighter budgets, the failure to successfully adopt AI can lead to inefficiencies, delayed test data workflows, and rising costs. And additionally, regulations like EPR and the AI Act demand stringent governance, and without automated, robust compliance practices, organizations, of course, risk failing behind and facing potential breaches. Yet, many testers and developers spend countless of hours searching for, waiting on, or manually creating test data, slowing down releases and increasing costs. In agile environments, ones especially that want to adopt AI, test data must be easily reusable, on demand, to maintain flow and avoid bottlenecks. Without this agility, organizations risk overwhelming their test data teams, who may struggle to keep up with the continuous and evolving data requests of AI systems. And often the hardest bugs to fix are the hardest to reproduce, right? So without accurate test data, debugging becomes a guessing game. Many bugs remain unresolved because teams will struggle to recreate the exact data conditions where defects occur. AI-driven synthetic data can, of course, change this and overcome many of the challenges that teams are facing. But in general, outdated approaches, not looking to adapt or evolve your approaches to look into how AI can help you manage your test data, it's no longer sufficient, right, for modern enterprises. In the age of AI, you need speed, you need quality, you need compliance, and you need coverage, right? And therefore, a new approach is necessary, right? And then while we're here, Harry, I thought you might want to talk a bit about the challenges that you're seeing that some of our customers are facing, some of the people that you talk to in the industry have seen.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, there's a big variation there. I think one of the most common things that we sort of run into from like a testing perspective is people are getting blockers with understanding their data. So, if you want to generate into, you've got multiple environments, multiple data sources, you might have all sorts of different referential data between them that needs to be consistent. I don't think people find it possible to track those, understand those relationships, and get the data they need in an efficient way. They certainly struggle to generate it. So people are sort of falling back on the old school way of, let's just take some sort of section of prod and we'll try and mask it and we'll go from there, or we'll do a massive refresh. And these are very time consuming and expensive, right? So being able to understand your data effectively and quickly, and then proactively stay on top of those changes is unbelievably important, right? If we want to be able to move quickly and actually generate data and get it on demand, or find the data we need, right, from certain places. So I think understanding, defining that data and staying on top of it is a really big one. And that's certainly something that we're sort of trying to use AI to streamline even further. I'm just wondering if there's anything in the chat. Please do post in the chat if that resonates sort of at all with you guys. And if that's something that you're seeing. I think also the other thing really that we're focusing on that we don't see enough from people that we're working with is the focus on data quality. So it kind of goes back to what you were talking about there with like Boeing, for example, which is, okay, fine, can we get some test data? Can we test this, our system, our application to some extent? Yes, maybe we are doing that, but I don't think we're really thinking about it from a scenario-driven, a coverage, a data quality perspective. Like, you really need to see test data not just as a means to an end, but the test data really is the test itself, often. And if we really want to be testing these systems adequately, testing our negative test data combinations, all of our different edge cases, the different variations that actually exist, we need to understand what those variations are that we need to test, which is hard, and then create all of them and do that in a sort of automated way, because we don't want to be manually doing those. We want to do it in a way that we can be sure that we're testing things adequately. So I think data quality and coverage is a bit of an afterthought, because things are so bottlenecked and hard, right? Because we're so stressed about getting some data in place, we don't really think about if the data we've got is adequate. and if it's really going to test our systems effectively. So again, we'll sort of look at that a little bit today as well.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's really good input there, Harry. But that also kind of leads us into what I mentioned earlier, which is Curiosity's approach to seamless, secure, and smarter test data management, right? And that comes in the form of discover, act, monitor. And this, three-step approach helps enterprises gain a deep understanding of their data sensitivity and relationships, intelligently execute on actionable insights, and then monitor their data ecosystem, which are, I think, we believe, three key pieces to any test data management strategy, especially when you're thinking about coverage, understanding, and then monitoring for things like compliance or changes, right? Just to really go over some of the stages here in more detail and how our platform supports them, the Discover stage specifically provides full observability of your application landscape. The capabilities here allow you to automate the mapping and analysis of your entire data ecosystem in real time, giving you a deep understanding of your data structures, schemas, and dependencies that exist. The Act stage, the focus of it, which is, of course, the focus of our webinar today, right? But it's really about acting. It's about utilizing different solutions, capabilities to manage your data, produce synthetic data, mask it, subset it, provision it, and so forth, so on, right? And then just to really exaggerate, not exaggerate, but to go over some of these Act capability, we really try to focus on efficiency and handling, billions rows of data with self-service provisioning, data masking, advanced data generation capabilities. We can create realistic, compliant, and high-quality test data on demand. And additionally with that, we have modeling capabilities that help embed business logic and cover all data combinations and ensure comprehensive, realistic, and compliant test coverage across entire delivery ecosystems. And finally, the monitor stage ensures a proactive rather than a reactive approach to test data management, preventing issues before they escalate. And Curiosity's continuous data monitoring delivers unmatched visibility with AI-powered intelligence. Our capabilities keep your workflows agile and compliant and make sure you're always one step ahead. So as I mentioned, the webinar today will cover a bit of everything, but the main focus will be on how we act on our data and how AI supports that in an AI-driven test data management approach. But of course, we have a lot of content on Discover, on Monitor. We have previous webinars, plenty of videos that showcase our tools and really go over each stage in detail. But really, I'm going to start talking a bit about what Harry will show you today. And before I hand it over to him to get going with the demo and a few more slides. But really, he's here to show you how to seamlessly deliver the right data to the right teams at the right time across your whole enterprise. So you'll see how to automate data using AI to instantly classify and analyze data, reducing manual effort and ensuring regulatory compliance. You'll also see how to leverage data modeling to design and generate synthetic data with precision and diversity using intuitive model-driven approaches. Additionally, you'll see how to optimize complex testing environments to ensure consistency, high-quality data across all systems and dependencies. And finally, Harry will show you how performing data gap analysis can help you identify missing or incomplete data that could impact testing, analytics, or compliance. And I'm sure he'll show you a bunch of other little things along the way, as he's got a really great presentation ahead. But at this point, I will hand it over to you, Harry. So I believe your next slide is this one.
Hello, everyone. Okay. So there's going to be a few bits that we look at today. So essentially, the platform that we have, it's a cloud-based platform. We're looking to get sort of data on demand, as Mantas has kindly looked at. So the idea is we want you to be able to configure jobs, whether it's for masking, generation, finding data in a way that is as quick as possible and maintainable as possible. Now, the jobs that you create, they can be triggered manually through sort of self-service forms. They can be run as some sort of pipeline. They could be automated by sort of various data requesters, triggered through the API. Essentially, we want to remove as much burden as possible and dependencies on sort of overly stretched test data teams, right? Create reusable jobs that different people can pick up to quickly get the data they need, right, on demand. So Mantas also sort of touched on the ACT capabilities. So the ACT are the ones that's actually going and creating data and or masking it or classifying PII, all that sort of stuff. The discovery, I'll also be showing you a little bit of that. The discovery and the creation of sort of a data dictionary will all take place before any sort of our ACT things exist. And then for monitoring, we'll show you a little bit of monitoring as well. We are using AI to sort of monitor various relationships, things like schema changes, any new PII that might be getting into databases, all of that good stuff. So that's all part of getting you guys test data on time, right, on demand. If you're not staying on top of change, if you're not monitoring things, if you're not utilizing AI in the most effective way there, you're gonna be slow, right? You're not gonna move as quickly. So I will actually be showing you all of those different parts of the puzzle, some bits of them on today's call. I will be showing you guys some of our visual data models. So one of the capabilities we have in the tool, right, is to generate not just based off a single scenario and not just to think about test data as, hey, I want this specific, customer, or I want this specific order, or I want this specific scenario. It's to think about it as a sort of collective of, okay, well, within my application, what are all the things that matter? What are the key variations? What are the things that I want to test? And then model out all of those different data variations and use that to drive the data that we're creating, right? So we're really thinking about it from a coverage perspective rather than just from, one scenario at a time. I'll also show you guys how we sort of set the rules that are going to set the generation that takes place, whether that's having the right relationships in place, understanding what the soft keys are, the foreign key relationships, the business rules, but also understanding, hey, okay, well, for this specific data point, right, for this column inside a certain table, what are the rules that exist? How do we define those? And then how can the AI help us in that way, right? And then also sort of, once we've got those models in place, how can we use the AI to tell us what's missing, tell us what could be added, and to help us monitor those changes? Okay, so some of the specific agents that I will be showing you today, we have something called the virtual data engineer. So the virtual data engineer allows you to essentially focus on one of your data sources or sets of data sources. We have federated queries as well, and talk to it. Okay, so whether that's saying, okay, I want to know something about my data, I want you to go and I want you to find some data, I want you to execute this query, I want you to create some data for me. Essentially, you can talk to our AI agent and go and do all of those different things, right? So I'm going to sort of show you how that looks, show you some of the clever things that we can do there. I'm going to show you discovery. I've talked about that. So the discovery bit, it's going to be things like getting metadata, getting descriptions of ambiguous tables by digging into the data, defining those, bringing them into our dictionary. We're going to look at sort of PII data classification. We do have some deterministic scans for that, as you'd expect, but we can use AI to make that even better, right? To improve our results and our outcomes there. And the last bit is, of course, data coverage, using those models, using the AI to understand our data and tell us what we're missing, right? What are we not testing? Okay, what do we need to think about? What haven't we looked at yet? Okay, brilliant. So now for the exciting bit that I'm sure you are all looking forward to the most. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Okay, brilliant. So here we are inside the sort of Curiosity Cloud portal. Now, what I really want to stress to you guys, and I think this, if you're going to take anything away from this, from this webinar, this is what I'd want you to take away. Because what we're really trying to solve is the problem of, okay, well, we have AI is brilliant, but how do we utilize it effectively? How do we give it the information that we need? So what we have inside the Curiosity tool is we have something called the data dictionary, right? And inside the data dictionary, we have informations of all of our different definition structures, our databases, our files, their relationships, the metadata, all of those good things. All of that information lives inside of this data dictionary. Okay, now the reason why that is so important is the foundation, right, for making AI useful, for giving us test data and for testing, is having that clear understanding and structure of what data exists and how it's organized, right? So AI models, anything that's used for sort of generation and analysis, they need metadata, they need context, they need to understand what these tables, columns, files, what they represent, right? So without that defined dictionary, the AI is guessing, and there is just too much information for it to try and absorb for it to do it effectively, right? When you have that in place, you can give it that context for it to reason more effectively. So essentially, if we can sort of capture and organize information from our databases, schemas, versions, all that good stuff, this data dictionary that we have is our central source of truth, right? So this consistency, we hope, is going to allow our AI tools to sort of generalize knowledge across the systems, recognize that, an email or something is always PII, recognize that, hey, they used this function before, and for this table in this column, we should use it again here, recognize these business rules and keep applying them. And that can start to accelerate our discovery, right? And the automation and the apt part, right? We can start to generate faster because we don't need to worry about all of these business rules and these relationships and what function we should use to generate the data, because the AI has that metadata information that can use that to build things much quicker, right? Once it knows those entities and it has those relationships, it can propose relevant test scenarios. It can detect anomalies, right? It can help us detect bad data. That's another thing we do, is validating what data we have in our environments. Is bad data getting in there? Is it valid? It can select better generation functions, apply privacy rules, all of that good stuff, right? So, and it allows for genuine coverage. So AI sort of can't infer valid data combinations or edge cases without having an understanding of the relationships and constraints that exist, right, between fields. So really, really important that anything we do, it comes from this data dictionary. So step number one is getting this data dictionary in place, right? Now, on the most basic level, we obviously have connections that you set up. We have various deterministic scans. Now, there are some clever things that we can do with the AI to sort of give us extra information, right? So non-deterministic things. So I'm just going to open up one of our definitions here. And this is just a Postgres database, just one of the ones that we're working with. So I'm going to have to just sign in again here. Okay, so I'm just going to open up my definition here. And what you'll see in the top right, hopefully my screen's not too big for you, I'll just zoom in a little bit, is you'll see I've got this sort of AI assistant. Now, when we're working in a definition and we want to do some discovery, there's a couple of simple agents that we use here just initially. And the first one of these is the AI metadata generation and AI scanning. Now, what these two jobs do, and I've already run them on this database because I'm not going to run absolutely every job live just for time purposes, but it's gone through the whole of the database and it's generated us out various descriptions and tags for each of these tables and the columns that sort of exist within them, right? So if we look at our accounts table here, this table stores information for various banking accounts, basic types, details, balances, and so on. And you can see here, it's sort of analyzed what exists within the different tables. And the other clever thing it's done, it's actually come in here and you can see that it's tagged up where we have PII data automatically. So this is actually CBI data, but here we've got PII. And so it's gone through all of these and it's sort of started to give us information on, hey, well, what is the metadata? What are these tables doing? And is there PII data here? or things that we need to be concerned about. We do have some other agents as well that will also highlight what it considers to be tables of high importance. It'll look like things as how often those tables are updated, when they use, data growth, all of those good things, right? We can also use the AI there to try and identify in massive databases, okay, what tables and columns are actually important to us, right? Which ones matter the most? So this is sort of part of our initial set of discovery that we do in order to sort of get this definition in place, along with our sort of more deterministic, schema crawlers and stuff like that. So this gives us a nice sort of starting point and understanding of the data that we're going to be working with, right? It also does things like foreign key scans and all of that good stuff. Now, once we have this data and these data connections in place, and we have this dictionary, we've done our initial discovery, how can we sort of use our AI agent to chat to this data, right? To get more information on it, maybe start configuring some data finds, data reservation, create some data, right? All of that good stuff. So I'm just going to pop over now to one of my other data definitions that I was working on. And you can see here, just prior to this call, I've just had a little chat with our AI and just run a few sort of queries. I'm going to run a few more for you guys as well live. But if you see here, we've got the OT database. Hopefully, a few of you guys are similar to this. Real simple, like example commercial database, right? Customers, orders, products, that kind of thing. And what I've done is I've come in here and I've given it a sort of semi-complex query, and I've said, hey, I need some data. Can you find me some products that have high sales but low inventory across multiple warehouses? Okay, so the agent goes and it says, okay, well, I understand this database, I understand the relationships, I know what, I know everything I need to know based off this dictionary. Here is the SQL you need to go and run that. Great. So I say to it, well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you've got that. Please run this query. Okay, so the query is that I could say run this query and give me X many back. For this one, I've just asked if just sent me back a few, but it says great. Okay, so it goes away and it runs that, and it comes and it gives us some examples here. Great. So I've got my sort of various bits of data that I might want. So as a data engineer, I might be like, great, well, inside my environment, I've already got the data I need for this scenario. So I'm going to take this product ID and I'm going to use this specific row of data. I'm going to use this order for my testing. But maybe I forgot something. Maybe it was slightly wrong. So I've said, actually, these don't fit what I need. I'm going to need to filter these for the last 3 months. Okay, actually, I can't have data that's too old. I need new data. Please get me some data from the last 3 months. So it executed that query. And it said the query executed, but didn't return any of our products because there were none that met this. Okay, no problem. Fantastic. Please give me a query to add in 5 products that fit this criteria. And we go through, and it's given us a new bit. So we can now insert and add in some more. We can now just straight through this agent without even configuring up any sort of specific job. We could come in and just generate us some new ones into that environment, right, for us to go and use. So great, I could then run this, and it's going to add in 5 new products, and we could go and sort of use those for our testing. So this sort of like conversational AI here is really, really useful. We're not just limited to that. I'm just going to reset this one here and show you some of the other bits we have. So you can just talk to the AI, and it will interpret what you're asking it. But we have specific agents as well. So we have things like AI rule generation, metadata generation, identifying keys. So if you're looking for soft key relationships, it'll dig into the different columns that it think might be matching based off the metadata and so on. And it'll look to see if it can find soft keys for you. It can, of course, execute SQL, find various queries, design queries for you, all of that good stuff, right? So I'm just going to show you another one, maybe as an example, just so you guys can see it running. So I think I have another example here. So let's say, for example, I think I've saved this one from earlier. So find customers who ordered high value products from specific regions with low inventory. So again, reasonably complex, right? It's going to come in there and it's going to go and it's going to give us some sort of query to go and do that, right? And then we'd be able to run that later if we wanted to. So just while it's running this in the background, I will show you what one of our other agents does as well. So here we have, again, it's actually the same table, but I'm just going to leave that one open while I'm running. And what you'll notice is I've actually already run the AI rule generation on here. So one of the challenges when we're generating data is how do we adhere to business rules effectively? How do we get the right functions in place? It can become a bit of a time-consuming manual process. What this does is it goes through the columns and tables and actually just auto-defines these functions for you. So if I dig in now to customers, for example, and let's just actually open up that table in its entirety. What you'll see is we've got a few different columns. We've got our name, address, website, credit limit, and so on. If I actually dig into these, you'll see that it's automatically overlaid a sort of default generation, right? So here it's just going to give us a random full name. If we go back and check website, for example, it's going to give us a random internet URL. And, you know, if we check credit limit, great. Okay, it's going to give us some random amount between sort of 0 and 100,000. Okay, so it's looked at that. It's established that that's a reasonable range. And that is the function it's going to use. So just to show you sort of how these work, you can, of course, be adding further information, get even more advanced than that. It built into the tool, we have something called Data Painter. So what this does is it allows you to sort of define, okay, well, for this specific data point, whether it's flat file generation, database generation, whatever it is, what functions do you want to use? Do you want to parameterize it in some way? Are there calculations that take place? All of that good stuff you can sort of define in here. And then, you know, you sort of design some sort of function, click preview, and it will tell you what that will resolve to. So, for example, this could be 6,085.51 pence. That would be a random credit limit that will be that could be generated from our default functions. Okay, so that's another one of the sort of AI agents that we have to speed up our work. And yeah, if we come back here, you can see now our query here has resolved. Okay, well, if we want to find customers who ordered high-value products from specific regions with low inventory, here it is. It's got all the complex joins. It's got that that complexity. We could go and we could say, great, you know, execute this query for me. And it's going to go away and it's going to execute that, and we get to go and find the data we need. If that data doesn't exist, great. We'll go and we can make it, or we can, you know, deal with that as we see fit, right? Okay, so now that we've sort of got these definitions in place, and we've done our discovery, we've used the AI to set up our discovery, we found our PII data, we found our relationships. We can obviously use the AI agent to start to get an idea of what data can be found, what data needs to be created, all of that good stuff. What we want to think about next is, well, okay, we can get these finds and these data generations in place, but how can we use the AI to get data quality, to get really sort of advanced data? Now, what we have in the tool is we have the concept of data activities. Now, these are pretty easy to build. You can use the AI to sort of accelerate the building of them. But what I really want to show you, which I think is the most interesting thing, is generating based off a model, right? So what we have here is nothing crazy. This is a pipeline. It's doing a few things. It's generating into our OT database. It's also generating a flat file, and you know, it's sort of preparing the data, preparing our environment for that. Now, on the face of it, how this job runs is we've got a server process here, which looks something like this. So this is the type of form that a data requester might see. Okay, so what sort of data do you want to create? You know, what's the customer limit? How many customers? All that good stuff, right? You know, if they wanted to trigger that through the API, we certainly could. I'll just show you. You know, you could trigger that through the API request. You could get the Java code for it. This could be an iframe in something like Confluence, for example. Now, if I just just do a real simple generate on this job, it's just going to create me sort of a few records, right, based off one single scenario. But what we have the ability to do inside of the Curiosity platform is we can generate based off complex data. Okay, so I'm just going to trigger this this generation quickly. Oh, it's not complex, sorry, model data, excuse me, model data. So I'm just going to quickly run this. Now, while this is running, what the tool allows you to do, and you use the AI to do this, is create a model of the data that we want to test. So what I did before this sort of webinar is I created a really simple model of some of the variations I might want to test, right, for this OT database. So you can see here, I'll just walk through what it is. We've got our credit limit, right, some different credit limits. We've got our different order statuses. So cancelled, open, closed, pending, posted. I've also got some different label types. Okay, message types, request types, and payment details. You know, is it cash? Is it credit? Credit card? I'm modeling out all of these different combinations, right, that I want to test. Now, this might seem like a complex thing, but it's much easier to visualize all of these different variations that I'm testing and all my different scenarios inside of a model than inside of some sort of crazy Excel. And what we can do with the AI, if I just open the agent here, and I'll just quickly do a reset. What I can do with the AI, and we've got lots and lots of agents here, so I'll just choose one at random, is I can say, well, you know, can you identify some missing scenarios for me? You know, based off the data you know exists, based off the database, based off what I've already modeled out here in terms of combinations, what are my scenarios? What am I not testing? So you can see here, it's giving me loads of stuff, right? Okay, well, what happens if the payment details are invalid in their format? What about a negative credit limit? You know, what about if we have an invalid order status transition? So on and so forth. So it gives you loads and loads of different scenarios that maybe you haven't thought about. And you can use the same AI to update this model to go away and, you know, create our different, to create different scenarios and test cases. So what this model does essentially, because I'm running a bit out of time, so I'm just going to make sure I get to the end of it, is these 16 different paths that have been created from this model represent different data combinations, right? They represent a different scenario, a different user journey, a different, you know, different combination of data, a different expected result that maybe we wouldn't have tested otherwise. So we use these models to sort of come up with all of our different combinations, their expected results, and then this model will drive the generation that takes place. Okay. I won't go into it too much, but essentially we have some back-end algorithms that look at these data combinations and generate all of these different paths. So it's like deterministic testing. I can say, based off what the AI has created here, you know, with a bit of help from yourself, I know all of this is being tested. When I run my generation based off this model, I'm going to test all of these different combinations, right? All of these different equivalence classes are going to be dealt with. So you can see here, we've got our 16 different paths. If I go back to our generation that took place and just expand this, you'll see that, okay, we have 16 records created. And then we've also got more 25 order items because we have extra order items per contact. And we have, we have 25 orders created and 49 order items created. But those 16 contacts that are created have been defined from that model. So we've essentially generated all 16 of those different variations. So we've gone from quickly being able to, okay, let's understand our data. Let's get our relationships in place. Let's automatically determine what data we want to, what functions we want to use. Let's use the AI to tell us all of the variations that matter. And then we build this pipeline. It takes us sort of 5-10 minutes and we go and we generate that data. So I'll just give you a quick look at what's been created so you can see that as well. But you can see here we have contact, customers, order items, orders. If I come to customers here, you can see we've got our 16 different customers. And for our 16 different customers, we'd have our different orders, order items, etc., etc. Right. So that was a sort of whistle-stop tour on some of the AI stuff we're working with, why we're doing it, how we're trying to use that data dictionary to enable the AI as best we can. And yeah, hopefully that was interesting for you guys. I'm going to save us a bit of time now to answer questions. I feel like I've gone over a little bit, but thanks so much for listening to me there.
Yeah, that was brilliant, Harry. Thank you so much for that. Just gonna get back on the slides here and change the little layout. Cool, yeah. But again, thank you, Harry. That was quite comprehensive. But the platform it has so much more as well, right? It's not just those AI features. Everything you can do really kind of builds the fact that we have a complete end-to-end test data management platform, right? And we hope this, the demo Harry showed here kind of showcases some of that part, right? Taking you from Discover and Monitor. But really, we hope that our full suite of utilities to generate, manage, and allocate data on demand, with a comprehensive range of utilities ensures that, parallel teams and data requesters can access data at any time they want without delay, even in dynamic environments. And of course, all of these capabilities that you're seeing on screen now, all of them are AI accelerated, and there's really a lot more than what we have on screen. But of course, we can't just fill the screen with all these little things that we can do, but they all serve a purpose, and that purpose is to take your test data management from discovery to action to monitoring and then to reaction or action again, where you can have a continuous loop of quality data. And yeah, all of these are, as I mentioned, AI accelerated, but we hope that together our approach and our platform, enable teams to tackle the challenges that we mentioned earlier in our webinar with greater speed, scalability, and AI, where discovery automates, the mapping and analysis of your entire data ecosystem, breaking down silos and aligning legacy and modern systems for streamlined governance. And then Act empowers your teams with self-service tools like masking and data generation to handle billions of rows of data efficiently and deliver tailored solutions for your teams and your needs. And then monitoring comes in at the end there to enable continuous tracking and traceability for the changes in your data, in your ecosystem and pipelines, and therefore alerting your teams to risk and updates before they become bottlenecks, and ensuring proactive approach to test data management. And of course, together, our approach delivers, immediate value by automating processes, reducing costs, and hopefully accelerating project timelines while ensuring, compliance, complete coverage, and everything like that. But all in all, it's just to say that, we believe that Curiosity Software, we've really built a platform that it redefines the standard for test data management. With our AI-enhanced enterprise test data platform, we, harness the full power of data. We overcome limitations of legacy tools and the complex environments, and hopefully meet regulatory demands at scale. And our approach, Discover, Act, Monitor, is really about keeping pace. It's about transforming your data from a potential liability into your most valuable asset, and about leading the way in the AI era of test data management. And before we go, a little Q&A, Harry, would you like to add anything to that there?
No, not at all. I ran out a little bit of time to show you guys the monitoring piece. But the same sort of initial scans we have to sort of discover relationships, validate data and databases, all that good stuff. They run on sort of a cycle for various. So you trigger them against existing data entities that you have. So it's constantly checking for version changes and that sort of stuff. So that's how we sort of proactively stay on top of things. Just so that's the one thing I wasn't really able to show. But yeah, happy to take any questions that there might be. Really keen to know what people are sort of trying at the moment and where they're trying to go and how they're trying to enable AIs in their world.
Yeah, so I will mention that while Harry did run short on time there to showcase our monitoring capabilities, we had a previous webinar where we went over our dashboarding, our alert system, our traceability in the platform for data changes and so forth. You can see that on our website, on our YouTube, on our social platforms if you go visit those. I think it is worth watching the monitoring webinar. It is quite transformative. It's an extremely good feature and part of our platform. But in terms of Q&A, Harry, I know we're short on time, but I do have a question here for you. The question is, how quickly can someone go from, adopting our platform, right, to installation, setup, to then discovery, action, and monitoring?
Yeah, so normally the longest bit's the installation, to be honest. Just getting into provision in the client world. But post installation is very quick. So it's just about once you get connectivity right to your data sources, these scans are configured to sort of auto run. So straight away you should be getting some insight into what data you have, understanding the schemas, looking for bad data, understanding relationships, finding PII data. All those scans just run automatically, and you get sort of a report back, which is, again, if you guys who are listening are interested, is in our sort of monitoring webinar. So you get that initial report of what you have within your world once you've got those connections set up, and then so that's automatic. Just takes a few hours for those scans to run, depending on how large of an environment we're working with. And then once those are in place, generation is very quick. Assuming that those relationships that we found are correct, which they would be, and you've dealt with the bad data that might already be in the environment, it's very quick to then go from, okay, well, we're going to use the AI to create our generation rule sets, and then we're going to start generating quite quickly. Building of the models, so from a coverage perspective, that takes a little bit of a few days getting used to, using the AI agent to build the combinations that matter to you. And you need that SME knowledge to say, okay, well, I'm happy with these variations. I know these equivalence classes are what I need to test my system adequately. That takes a bit longer, but it's ultimately a very quick process. And that first step is all automatic, right? So you get a lot of information at once that maybe you didn't have before, once that connectivity is there.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a really good answer there, Harry. But yeah, we are really running short on time. So I think we're going to, start to close it out for today. But again, I'd like to say thank you, everyone, for joining and for interacting today. And Harry, of course, for his presentation. And of course, if you'd like to carry on the conversation following this webinar, there are a number of ways you can get in touch that we mentioned already. Stuff like, following us connecting with us on LinkedIn, following Curiosity on LinkedIn, visiting our website, emailing us. And, we're always super keen to talk test data. So feel free to reach out, get a call, get our team in a call, and we can see how we can help, evolve your test data management with our platform. Additionally, all the slides with a lot more detail and the recording will be shared with all of the attendees today in an email tomorrow. And finally, I'd like to just say, join us for our next webinar, which will be live on the 23rd of July. This webinar, How to Align Test Data to Your Evolving Center of Excellence, will be hosted with TestRail. This webinar, I believe, is essential for any software delivery leaders looking to elevate their COE with cutting-edge test data strategies and technologies. And so don't miss this opportunity. Please do sign up, visit our website to sign up. And you also see this webinar coming up on our LinkedIn. We'll hopefully see you then. But I think that's all that remains to be said. Is a big thank you for everyone for joining, and a massive thank you for Harry for presenting today. So see you next time. Thank you all.
Thanks so much, everyone.